Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Solomid Invitationals 2014, brought to you in part by Logitech and ProBuilds.net. I'm AlphaSax, being joined here by Spuddington, and we're hopping into picks and bans for game number 2 of this best of 3 series between SK Prime and Unicorns of Love. SK Prime lead 1-0 in the series. They'll be playing from the blue side this game, and for the side of Unicorns of Love, they do have their mid laner back. The power of evil is done. He had an appointment at the vet. His dog was sick earlier, and he's back now. Everything's fine, and we're ready to go.
I hope his dog is all right. We have many dogs in my home, and I care greatly about dogs in general. But obviously, you may actually end up hearing the dogs at some point. You never do know. They sometimes bark downstairs, and my microphone is pretty sensitive, so it does happen. But the fact that they had a substitute mid laner does sort of make you wonder, was it really worth SK Prime to ban out Syndra last game? Because she's a pretty unique champion, and although the power of evil plays her a lot, I have no idea whether the substitute actually had her in his champion pool. Obviously, didn't have a chance to show it because it was banned. But do you think maybe SK Prime didn't actually notice there was a sub?
It's possible. It's also possible that that they didn't like what they saw out of the Orianna last time around, as they banned out both the Syndra and Orianna this time, despite it being a different player. So it's kind of hard to tell what the thought process is behind this one. Thresh, Syndra, and Orianna, the bans from SK Prime this time around. So again, the Morgana does get banned out by Unicorns of Love, and the Thresh was first banned, so that's going to mean a very early Leona pick one more time for Hyosang. He's going to grab that up along with a Kha'Zix jungle for Master of Sheepy this time around. So the Kha'Zix staying on the red side, but Hyosang is going to bring the Leona with him. Now, just very quickly, as the lock-ins have come in for SK Prime, they grab up Lucian for their AD carry, and they have a Kassadin in the mid lane for What the Fox.
Ooh, interesting that they would pick the Kassadin without seeing what they're going to be going up against here. Typically, he's been in and out of the meta like a yo-yo recently, actually, because every other patch seems to be changed around in some way, brought to being too good again or too weak again. And all in all, if there is any effective way to play Kassadin, typically he becomes overpowered, simply because Riftwalk is one of the most phenomenal skills in the entire game by such a large margin, because that level of mobility is unmatched. I'm not sure if there is an effective way to play Kassadin at the moment, although obviously SK Prime thinks so, thinks there is, but I'm curious to know what Unicorns of Love run against that.
The answer is maybe Kale. Kale could potentially be going up into the top lane as well. They do pick up a Kale. They've got Kale Graves, so it's going to be the Leona Graves lane going down this time around. So Graves is going to stay over on the red side as well. We should point out, Braum has not been banned or picked up yet either. So there's a potential for Zaitan to run that again with the Lucian, as we have yet to see a support pick. And it worked really nicely against the Leona in the last game. So there's no reason to believe that he won't go right back to it. And indeed, Zaitan shows us the Braum for right now. We'll see if that does get locked in. There's not as much incoming CC projectile-wise to intercept this time around. But that's not necessarily the only reason why you pick Braum up. I mean, he's just so incredibly tanky, and the shield can just soak up so much of that directional damage. But it was the culling last time around. It's going to be equally the collateral damage coming in this time. I'm not sure how his shield interacts with Kale's auto attacks. Because, like, I know Kale's auto attacks can't be blocked by Wind Wall, so they're not technically a projectile, so I'm not sure if he will actually mitigate or stop any of that damage from Kale or not. So that's... I haven't seen anyone test that out. That might be interesting to watch.
I would imagine it wouldn't stop. It wouldn't stop the damage from Kale's autos. I would have thought. I don't know. Maybe not. Projectiles. Who knows? It's coding. That's the thing that Riot has done, and they have created this game with it, and it sometimes does things you don't expect it to do. SK Prime, though, have locked in their full roster here. I can see it. And obviously with that Braum and Lee Sin, they have actually surprising mobility. Braum's dash gives you, especially when you've got a Lee Sin as well, actually gives you the option to have Lee Sin go in, then you follow up with Braum, then he uses his ultimate, and then you can try and get someone else out of position using the Lee Sin kick. In addition, they've also got the Aurelia and the Kassadin, so quite a mobile team on the side of SK.
Yeah, there's lots of blinks, lots of being able to move forward here. They're going to be very careful when they get caught out in the initiation. Obviously, they do have Ryze, who can kind of stand in most fights and just deal lots of damage. But as I recall, I'm not like 100% sure about the pick order, but wasn't the Irelia relatively, or no, the Irelia was one of the last picks I think they got, but the Rise was the very last pick, so they ended up picking Rise into Irelia, right? I was under the impression that Irelia had a huge advantage matchup against Rise in the 1v1.
So saying it's a huge advantage is perhaps overstating, it, but there is a definitely difficult matchup there. Rise tends to lack the ability to kite Irelia effectively, or at the very least, lack the ability to harass her out of lane. Because normally, when Rise goes up against a Bruiser, he just throws loads of spells at her, at Bruiser, X, Y, Z, and then walks away. So, your Renekton's, your Jax's, or whatever just has to either go all in or just, say, I'm going to just back away from the minions, get zoned out of XP, get zoned out of gold. Now, in the case of Rise versus Relia, as long as there's a minion that drops low near Rise, she can obviously Blade Surge to that minion, then Equilibrium Strike onto Rise, because if he's trying to harass her, he's going to be standing next to his ranged creeps. And that means you can easily get on him, and you have a second dash to either follow up on him if he tries to flash away and you have a big advantage, or to try and jump back to the minions again if he is trying to turn it around and you've chased him too far into the enemy minions. So it really has a lot more options in that. And in addition to that, she's still good at setting up ganks, which a lot of the other bruisers actually are as well on Rise. So it's difficult in a one-on-one, and it's as
A summoner has disconnected.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Solomid Invitationals 2014. Had a little bit of a technical error there with one of the players disconnecting from the game. We've got everybody back in. All the internets are a go, and we're ready to get this game started up. I'm AlphaSex, being joined here by Spuddington, and we'd like to thank our sponsors Logitech and ProBuilds.net for helping making this tournament possible.
Yes, indeed. Now, both these teams obviously did just have quite a long time to think about what they're going to do for their level 1s here. At the moment, not seeing anything too special coming out of either side. Just a couple of wards put down. Actually, just a couple. In fact, exactly a couple. And not covering every possible angle here from SK Prime, but wouldn't normally expect to see an early invade coming up from that tri-brush area into the blue buff. That would be most unusual, although things that are unusual tend to catch you off. But it seems like today they won't be punished for it.
And everyone's just fanning out, getting information from all the different entrances at once. Neither side wants to group up and make any sort of aggressive invasion happen very early on. There's lots of scary champions in all of these situations, to be honest. Braum, his passive is so good. Level 1, you can apply the slow with the Q and then get the auto attack down. And with the entire team auto attacking, the stun is like instant and does so much damage.
Yeah, that's true. It's definitely a power. Like, Braum is really deceptively damaging. He does like no damage on his own, but his passive just does so much. Like for the comparison's sake, the straight up bonus damage that he gets from his passive at level 1 is roughly equivalent to the damage you get from most abilities at level 1. About 70 damage for free, and that's not counting the obvious auto attack damage, that's not counting the ability damage. It all kind of adds up, and he's doing quite a bit. So we'll see if this goes quite as aggressive as it did early game last time, because last game we had a very, very similar matchup, as I recall. And there were a lot of kills going down very early.
One thing that's worth pointing out is that the Lucian is on the side with Braum this time around, and because of Lucian's passive, it's very easy to get that stun down very quickly. If you apply one stack of the stun with your Q, Lucian can go in with his Relentless Pursuit and double tap him with the auto attacks. Just like that on Leona, he's one auto attack away from the passive, and Leona just has to hard disengage and run away.
Yeah, he was very much kiting around the very edge of the range on that, so... Level 2 is hit by both sides. Last game, we saw a lot of the thing, the major thing actually, I think, which started off almost all the aggression, was the fact that Hylasang got the level 2 all in engage, or well, actually managed to do it again here, but not quite as strongly, because last time it was level 2 versus level 1, and this time level 2 versus level 2, and possibly into a few minions, so the stun damage actually has added up. There is a mana difference here, though. Ziz is running quite low.
And that's a common issue with Lucian. It's so easy to spend all of your mana very, very quickly because of like how easy it is to spam piercing lights and try to get damage down at 1100 range. So it's always very difficult to manage your mana very efficiently, and that's one of the things that makes Graves so good, and actually makes support sustained supports really good against Lucian as well, because you do run into a major issue of just kind of punching yourself out, where you eventually just kind of run out of the ability to deal damage.
That's true. Kha'Zix has found the top lane, though, and Vizik is kind of out of mana, but I don't think he needs any.
Yeah, Shibi's just going to flash over the wall. He's going to end that game of which way are you going, which way am I going? First blood goes down just at the 4-minute mark, so it's worth the full 400 gold.
That's quite a nice chunk of change. We've seen how Kha'Zix can get pretty scary. I was still a little bit surprised to see last game if the wings upgrade was the first choice. I'm interested to see if they go for that here. But right now, it's going to be a lot more farming, I think. I mean, I said there'd be quite a bit of farming last game, and oh boy, was I ever wrong. But I think this game, there's not too much potential for aggression in the mid lane. Power of Evil right now is taking quite a bit of damage there, but it's mostly just going to be about how he bullies out Kassadin, sorry. Yeah, I'll continue to fight this, though.
Power of Evil trying to chase down on Achilles. Going to flash forward, and the Q goes out. Cannot get the final auto attack. Is he ignited enough? No, it is not. Achilles just barely survives on that one as the hard 2v2 in mid lane closes up. Hylasang goes in on his Ziz down the bottom lane, flashes forward, gets a stun, gets stunned up by the Braum passive as well. And you see Ziz and Zaitan with no HP at all, and Vardags is standing here near full health saying, okay, I'm just going to continue farming now.
Yeah, Hylasang's Leona is really, really good. He always finds the engages he wants, and he gets quite good trades out of them usually. So now, will Zaitan look to punish this? Nope, he's just going to be trying to get the farm. Once they've cleared this way, they're going to look to try and back if they can. If they can't, see, they may just have to stay in for a while just to get the XP up, keep themselves strong. But right now, both the teams kind of starting to build up a bit of a difference between them. You've got 1,000 gold already, which is 400 of which accounted for on Kha'Zix alone. But there's quite a few CS gaps as well. You've got CS gap in the top lane for Ryze, which is what we would expect in the early game. Irelia only causes some problems later on. You've got the CS gap in the mid lane as well, thanks to Kassadin versus anyone that isn't melee themselves. And that does mean Gilius has quite a bit to do here. He's going to try for the gank on the top lane now.
He's going to show up on Achachi. Smitty down extremely low. He has to be careful that Achachi doesn't just turn this back around. He's going to try to get chased back down, flashes himself away. He's going to be able to get away from that gank without too much difficulty, but loses so much of his health.
Yeah, that gives Aurelia a chance now to get that farm, get it pushed out, get herself back and sustained up. Because her teleport will be coming up pretty shortly too. They may actually look now to gank him when he comes back in. That would be a little bit risky, I think. Gilius, they know you're there. I would not want to be Gilius right now. If a Kha'Zix knows where you are, that's very bad, especially when your laner will be weaker than theirs when he comes back in.
And so you see Smitty's just going to base as he shoves it in the tower. He's basing on a ward, but no one's going to end up finding out. So he's not going to have too much issues here. Gilius going to get jumped up by Master of Sheepy, uses the Q to go over the wall, just trying to create as much space as he can. Master of Sheepy dies back in one more time. He's a little bit more damage. Can he close it out? No, he cannot. What the Fox is there? Void Spike's not going to land. But Master of Sheepy taking total control of the SK Prime jungle.
Yeah, not even going to steal away any buffs though. So, camps though. So, a little bit curious to see what his plan is here. Maybe going for the top lane gank in a second once he's gotten, Smitty's gotten down a bit.
I think he wasn't sure whether Lee Sin started red or blue, and so he timed that invasion to go with a blue buff respawn if he did start off on the blue side. But unfortunately, the red was the first buff he took, so it's going to be about another 30 seconds before that blue comes back up.
No, I actually think he was just straight up looking for the kill on Lee. Like, he knew Lee was there because he saw him coming back down from the top lane area. And Kha'Zix is so strong if he gets the drop on you, and he knew he had a level advantage as well. So he circled around, looking to see if Lee was doing any of the camps. Actually looks like now he is going to try for the blue buff here. And they've got the dominance in the mid lane, so they may as well. So they should be able to steal this away.
Kyle saying, walks back up, gets the stun on his Zaitan, takes the stun for his efforts. Zaitan throws up the shield, and they end up trading roughly evenly on support HP. Zaitan coming out a little bit ahead of that one. Re-engage coming out from Zaitan. Zaitan uses, onto Zaitan. Zaitan uses stand behind me to pull himself away, has to flash back out. Bardax drops the ultimate and does an insane amount of damage, and that's the level 6 advantage that Graves has over Lucian right now.
Yep, but hey, Kassadin.
Here comes What the Fox running back down. He's going to get stunned up, tries to put the damage down on a Bardax. Gilius comes in from the other side.
Well,
he's not going to be able to make that one happen. But for the roam, the Kassadin's going to lose his tower in the mid lane.
Yeah, that's not a bad trade there, actually, as far as he's concerned. They will be... He was losing the tower anyway. It was very, very low. That's why Kayle was able to take it. And that means he's now free to use his level 6 to roam around a lot. Power of Evil may need to watch himself as well here.
So in the mid lane, Power of Evil, he's 30 CS over What the Fox right now. He was out ahead, and then that roam from Kassadin just ended up setting him even further behind and didn't get a whole lot done for it. So the mid lane is going to become a major issue. So you kind of expect to see the junglers showing their presence here to see if they can turn this back around. It's really hard to gank Kassadin at this point, and it's really scary to gank Kayle at this point, because if the Kha'Zix shows up, that 2v2 is going to go really badly, really quickly.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying Waterfox is probably okay with losing his tower right now, because Kayle doesn't want to overextend forever, so he actually has an opportunity to get these creeps, which is something he's been rather sorely denied throughout the laning phase, but it has given Unicorns of Love quite a significant advantage in the laning phase. See if Kayle can capitalize, but Kayle isn't the strongest roamer here, so maybe it will be difficult for her. Gilius, if he only knew, would definitely take that.
Gilius going to end up heading back to base, though. So we're going to potentially see the 2v1 dive on Chachi. Chachi very low on mana as well. So they have a pretty good opportunity to try to make this one happy. Smitty just playing this very slowly, letting the creep wave push back towards him, kind of keeping it even. Now Gilius going to come back in, uses the ward to jump in. Chachi going to get kicked into the wall. There's the Sonic Wave resonating strike as well. Gilius was the first one, and he's going to take the tower aggro, and he's going to go down. Chachi able to pick up a kill on the 2v1.
Gives you the buffs, though. Smitty does end up with double buffs as a result of that. Kha'Zix is coming, though, so you've got to be very, very careful about this. He's got flash, he's got the ultimate upgrade, he's got a lot of distance to cover.
Down in the bottom lane, we see Heilsang opens up one more time. Ziz going to get exhausted as he tries to step forward. Vardax turns back around, not going to be able to get it done. Back up in the top lane, we see the jungler has found the top laner. Smitty going to jump back over. Master of Sheepy will be able to pick that kill up. The Void Assault helping out a tremendous amount.
Oh, buff transfer complete. So, end up with Master of Sheepy picking up both of those. Not a bad option for him there. Didn't catch the fight in the bottom lane, but essentially the top lane, it was actually quite close because Smitty was kiting around through the minions, but in the end didn't work out for him. Very, very narrow though.
So down in the bottom lane, the CS is almost equalized. Being able to get this closer and closer here on this one. Vardax is... The thing is that both these guys, they've been under such pressure that they haven't been able to pick up like the early BF swords that you kind of expect. Smitty trying to chase down onto Chachi right now. Chachi able to trade that damage out very equally, using the ultimate for so much extra move speed. It makes it very difficult for Smitty to really kite him down and put the damage down that he really needs to. So up in the top lane, this has been going really well for Chachi so far. He's up 20 CS over the Irelia and is being able to maintain pressure despite the length of that lane.
Yeah, you can see now he's starting to have to be a little bit careful because Smitty is starting to sustain himself back up again, and that is one of the problems. Because, of course, Transcendent Blades has a very short cooldown, so she can all in, get you both low, and then rely on her sustain and burstiness, because Irelia is quite bursty to sustain.
Heilsang goes back in down to the bottom lane, but finds Gilius waiting for him here. Ziz and Zaitan going to try to chase down on the Leona. Last auto attack from Ziz is going to be able to get that kill down. Gilius chases down Vardax in the river. That's going to be 2 quick kills going over for SK Prime.
Yeah, meanwhile, the mid-tower push is coming in, and Waterfox cannot stop this. That's going to drop.
And this is the constant Kayle pressure. Again, they're just punishing the Kassadin pick with the Kayle pick. It's going to take so long for What the Fox to be able to get himself caught back up on this one. Now Smitty diving in onto Chachi one more time. Chachi has the ultimate again. Smitty has his ult as well and hasn't used it, so Chachi needs to be careful. If Smitty dives back in, he's going to have a lot of extra burst potential from those Transcendent Blades.
The flip side of that, though, is Smitty needs to be very careful because there's an angry Kha'Zix on his way up 2-0. Scary.
Smitty comes back forward here with the Blade Surge. Not going to be able to take down Chachi. If he sees the Kha'Zix, he's going to go for the full dive and try to take this one down anyway. Can he get in onto Chachi in time? He is going to get root prisoned up. Cannot close the gap. And Master of Sheepy picks up the quick kill.
Now, normally what you would expect as a result of that is the Dragon contest. You would expect the team that has obviously just lost a man but committed 2 of their opponents to top would try and go for the Dragon trade. As it is, though, they can't do that because their bot lane was a little bit too low on mana and health to be trying that, having to recall at that exact moment. So that's basically just going to mean that Tachi is now doing very, very well in that top lane again. You don't normally expect a positive KDA rise coming out of the laning phase.
And he's been doing incredibly well. And look at the solo lanes have been going so well here for the side of Unicorns of Love. Like, just look at the power of evil compared to his lane opponent, What the Fox's Kassadin rather. He's down a full 50 CS, and every time he comes up to CS, he just gets chased down. If he doesn't have Riftwalk available, he loses almost half of his health immediately. There has been no reprieve from him in this mid lane.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Kayle building herself up to be very, very scary as well. We did also see, remember, yesterday, Alex Itch running the Runan's Hurricane Kayle build, which is a really interesting choice, but will actually make up for the slight weakness of Graves in the late game in that he's a little bit of a lower, or not necessarily a lower damage, but more risky carry. But even if he gets focused out, you're still going to have very high sustained damage when you have Kayle, and whichever one you do try and focus out is going to get Kayle ulted. So that's a very, very strong late game team fighting combo between the 2 of them. Right now, though, looks like we're going to be seeing like almost a base race because Aurelia is up top, so is Lee Sin. Can SK Prime actually defend 2 versus 4? I'm a little bit surprised to see them trying.
Unicorns of Love. Yeah, they saw SK Prime saw 4 people down in the bottom lane from Unicorns of Love. Immediately stole away the red buff and are now looking to push down the tower and just hoping that Ziz can use the culling to clear out creep waves and just kind of stall out the push onto this tower until they have an opportunity to kind of catch back up. The fact that the Kayle is moving down, though, the power of evil, means that they can continue the push. They don't have to necessarily give up on this one just yet. Chachi going to use his teleport. No, he's going to cancel it. Goes back in on his Zaitan. We see the 4v5 fight going down here in the bottom lane. Down goes the Kassadin so very quickly. Down goes Zaitan as well. There's no protection left for Ziz. Chachi going to go down to the tower. He was taking that up for quite some time and hasn't bought any armor yet. The power of evil cancels one auto attack. Not going to matter. Double kill goes down as he chases Ziz under the tower. And the trade, they lose out on the fight pretty badly. It's 3 for 1. But look up in the top lane, they're still pushing down those towers. Smitty and Gilius just doing what they can. We'll see how even this trade ends up going. Gilius able to take down the inhibitor tower, while Smitty backed away a while ago and is moving out to push out the mid lane.
Yeah, so even though it was a slightly dodgy... And SK Prime definitely made the right call there. Going for that fight was absolutely the right thing to be doing. The problem was they put quite a bit of focus down on the Leona, who was already tanky, and then they got Kayle ulted as well. And that kind of left them open to the re-engage from their opponents, tanking so much damage on the Leona. And now actually Smitty may have to watch himself.
Smitty getting chased down by Master of Sheepy. Kha'Zix has so many slows he can apply. And we see What the Fox goes in over the wall onto Power of Evil. The intervention goes down onto Master of Sheepy. They turn on the Power of Evil and down he goes. They get the counter kill onto the Smitty, but it's not going to be very good. What the Fox goes over the wall, and Kassadin showing that mid-game mobility and bringing all the damage.
Yeah, he's gotten himself 2 kills now, so still a long, long way behind in gold compared to Kayle, but starting to pick up, and that makes him really very scary, because unlike Kayle, who is almost locked in place when attacking, that is not the case for Kassadin.
Vardags got to pull himself away from this one. The Braum passive goes on. It's not going to get procced. And SK Prime group up and push down the mid-outer tower.
Red team's turret has been destroyed.
So, gold, roughly equalized between the two. Sachi in the top lane, pushing up this tower. He should be able to get that, indeed. Going to leave the minions to do that. Technically, he should stay in the area, since there is that local gold people forget about quite often. But, going to let the minions do their work. Minions, you have one job. Right. Go on, minion. Minions. 18. It's alive. Rise. You should have auto-attacked it.
He's auto-attacking wards right now. And Gilius is standing around in the area as well, waiting until the wards get cleared out. So he's gonna look to make the dive happen here onto the Irelia. Gonna look to clean her up. And if Smitty pushes a little bit too far, he's not gonna enjoy this too much. Kha'Zix's gonna be the one to show. Typically it's the jungler that holds out in the brush, waiting for someone to step forward here. But instead it's going to be Smitty. He walks a little forward. Smitty.
Master of Sheepy was moving towards that brush. Why was he moving towards that brush?
He's gonna come back out. There he's gonna jump back in. There's the slows coming down. Solar Flare comes in from the side as well. 3 people up against Smitty. That's not gonna go too well for him. Down he goes. Chachi picks that kill up, and now the tower will indeed fall.
Yeah, this time it's definitely going, and they're going to pick up the local gold, so there you go. All's well that ends well, and it actually looks like Power of Evil is going to have to trade off with What the Fox. That damage from Kayle.
Yeah, whenever What the Fox uses his Rift Walk to go back in, this is what happens every time. Gilius not jumping back in. What the Fox waits until the intervention goes down, dives in, and Gilius is going to more than pick the kill up.
Yeah, that's not a lot of fun for him in the end. One of the main problems with the Kayle build that you see there is that it needs to stack up the stacks, the resistance shred, before it can do much in this situation. Teleporting from Smitty GA, he's going to cut them off.
This is going to be a rough one. Shachi turns back around. Hyosand going to go for the engagement. There's the knockup coming out from Braum with his ultimate. A nice double knockup on the back line there. There's going to be Shachi going back down. Gilius picks that kill up. Hyosand going to get stunned up by the Braum passive. He's going to fall down. Smitty picks that kill up. That Q's not going to land, but What the Fox able to get in, gets the Force Pulse down onto Master of Sheepy. That's going to be the 3rd kill here for SK Prime. It's going to go over to Ziz, and they turn their attention to the Baron.
Not entirely sure about this plan. They've got a ton of damage. They will take it down very, very quickly, but Graves is right there. If you look at the health they're on, collateral damage and a buckshot would easily take out Gilius.
There's the collateral damage going down. Gilius extremely low, cannot be the one to take the damage from the Baron. What the Fox take it down low as well. They don't have the vision, and that will be SK Prime securing the Baron.
Well, it worked out for them there. Basically, Vardags couldn't see what was going on, so he couldn't see if there was someone waiting just the other side of the wall to ambush him, which is why he didn't get in range for the buckshot. Arguably, it would have actually been worth it for him to die and do a lot of damage in the process, because it might have forced them off the Baron, but still, in the end, that's that's straight up a Baron buff going to SK Prime, which is a very big swing in their favor because now they are looking very, very strong. Roughly equal gold between the two teams, but they have the mobility. Cassidy is now scaling up hard. Lucian is now in his almost his peak stage of the game, the mid game, where he's very, very strong and has got an item advantage over his counterpart. And Aurelia will be very relevant at this stage of the game as well.
And I want to say this happened in the last game as well. I'm not sure, but we're in a situation here where the team that has Baron actually has the gold disadvantage. So the Baron stats will give them a roughly equivalent gold lineup between the two sides, because obviously Baron gives you so much regen and attack damage and ability power and stuff like that. But SK, you know, they have to be kind of cognizant of the fact that there is still a near 100 CS gap between the Kassadin and the Kayle right now. And if they both find themselves in 5v5 fights, the Kayle is going to be every bit as useful as What the Fox's Kassadin. Situations like this, however, the Kassadin, the mobility, the slows, just able to kind of terrorize the Rise and chase him down. Just like that, Chachi has no flash.
Yep, this is the thing. As long as you keep them moving and create picks when they're trying to react to your movements, it will cause difficulties.
What the Fox gets locked up by the Rune Prison. Now they're going to try to go in on Smitty. Smitty pulls himself back out. Zaitan throws up the shield, throws down the ultimate. Master of Sheepy running away with the Void Assault is revealed, so they do have good vision of him from the Lee Sin. Now Master of Sheepy going in on his Zaitan. The inhibitor does fall. Can SK Prime get back out unscathed? Gilead's going to use the kick. Locked up by the Rune Prison. Vardax picks that kill up. Big shutdown goal going over to him. Now chasing down the Zaitan. Double kill goes down for Vardax. Can they continue the chase? Power of Evil. No, he's going to turn it back around. And that's just going to be an inhibitor going down, but two members of SK Prime following as well.
Well, SKP is a good way of putting it, but yeah, little bit of focus there on the inhib. Left quite a lot of time for the Power of Evil to put out DPS in that fight, and the same being true of Vardax there. And you've got to be careful as SK Prime here. If you do end up falling behind against the late game of your opponents, busy, but turn around.
They try to take that Smitty, does successfully do so. This has to flash over the wall immediately, and only the Power of Evil not having flash to follow going to get the Lucian out alive.
Yeah, so letting him DPS is a very scary thing right now, especially if you're clumped up trying to siege in an inhibitor, because obviously Runans gives you even more AoE.
Now trying to chase down onto the Kayle. And Power of Evil going to throw on the intervention and just turn it back around. Vardax shows up as well, and you can see his damage output with just the BT and the pickaxe. Hasn't even completed the last Whisper yet. What the Fox running himself away from this one. Master Sheepy comes in from the side. Zaitan stands behind me to a minion. He's going to be able to get himself away from the invading Kazakhs. But nonetheless, Unicorns of Love trying to make the push in onto the inhibitor tower. Teleport coming back in, going to keep that minion alive. Using the teleport tank on that one. Culling goes out on the Hyosang. Hyosang slowed up, going to have to get himself away from this one. Piercing Light goes out. And that's going to be Smitty picking that kill up. What the Fox trying to go for the chase. This is where Kassadin really shines. Chasing people down using the Force Pulse. Nice uses of the Blade Surge there by Smitty. He's going to end up going down though. Chachi turns back around and drops the burst. Ultimate comes out from Braum while Chachi steps forward. Chachi going to end up falling down. Can he take anybody with him? No, indeed he cannot. Double kill now goes down for Ziz and SK Prime. They're going to turn right back around, and they're the ones trying to push in as one of the Nexus towers for Unicorns of Love falls.
Totally failed to register that, and so did Unicorns of Love. And that means they're going to lose a lot of objectives. Now, you can't allow yourself to get low, essentially. If you are overcommitting, like they were there, when they tried to go for the siege on the tower, in spite of the fact they had no minions, cube teleport mechanics, notwithstanding, if you get low and you're in a bad situation, and you will get low if you're in the enemy base and they're allowed to heal up, you get chased down. There is no way to escape from the Kassadin right now. And, Aurelia, he rolls very nice Blade Surge mechanics. So, look at Kassadin's cooldown right now. It's 5-second blink on that. And it's a big range blink. So, yeah, not a good combination. And it looked like Unicorns of Love was starting to really build up a head of steam there, but now they suddenly lost it all.
They really did. The inhibitor being down in the top lane is a major liability for them, and they did not properly account for it when they went in for their big plays. What the Fox also just completed a Lich Bane. So when he jumps on top of you, procs the W, and auto-attacks you, the burst damage is going to be huge. So he's going for that rather than trying to stack up the cooldown reduction, which is another popular build on Kassadin. He's actually bought no cooldown reduction at all via his items just yet. But he's still, he's got the Rod of Ages done. There's a Seeker's Arm Guard as well. So he's relatively tanky, and he's going to be dealing insane amounts of damage.
I'm a little bit curious, actually, about the Lich Bane choice here. He doesn't have a hugely high AP build at this moment, and Lich Bane obviously was nerfed to be less than ultimately efficient. So I'm not I mean, obviously he will use it a lot because he auto attacks a lot, and he's very, very dependent on that. But I'm still not entirely convinced that's actually even optimal for like DPS, just because Lich Bane was really made a lot weaker than it used to be. Master Sheepy going to be having to going to have to be forced off from his blue.
They use the teleport to secure the blue buff and continue applying pressure just that much more quickly. SK Pro, at this phase of the game, the blue buff is actually a very major objective. Once teams are constantly sieging and stuff like that, they end up putting it onto the Kassadin, so that's going to be a big source of the cooldown reduction that he has not picked up in his items yet. And for Kassadin, that's a really big deal. Also, the mana regeneration is certainly going to help out. The W does a lot to keep his mana pool full, but it never hurts to have a little bit of extra help on that one.
Yeah, so they don't feel confident in sieging. Their composition is a little bit risky if it comes down to directly sieging towers, just because their only ranged attack is going to be... Okay, only ranged attack that does anything significant is going to be Ziz, just because the rest of them are all melee. You've got the Lucian with the spikes of damage from his passive, but he's not going to be like super, super quick at taking down towers, and you're going to have to duck in, duck out, and that's always a dangerous proposition when you're against a Leona. You can always get engaged on when you're trying to do that. So it looks like SK Prime are just going to try and set themselves up for the Baron, and of course, Baron dances are one of those places where having very high mobility champions is very much more powerful than having a very strong team fight in a straight-up 5v5.
SK Prime, moving around the Baron area. The Baron has respawned, so it's going to come down to mission control and who can take this one down very quickly. Ziz not in the area right now. He's going to be coming in here as soon as he pushes this back up. And it looks like Unicorns of Love is going to try to go for a little bit of a mid lane push. They're not going to get the jump onto the side of SK Prime, though, so they're not going to be able to push this back into the tower without any contest.
Yeah. Getting the control over the area, though. Unicorns of Love. They're going to have to be careful, though. It looks like we're seeing these just... Well, you can have Baron. We're going for your inhib play here from SK Prime. We'll force the response.
Oh, but Zaitan is far behind the rest of his team. They can't go for the full-on 5v5, so they pull away. Now they're trying to get the flank over here, but the entire team of Unicorns of Love are grouped up. They're ready for this engagement. Master Sheepy pops the Void Assault, goes in on his Zaitan. He's going to get himself locked up. Gilead's going to be able to get the stun down. There's Master Sheepy taken down extremely low, flashes himself away. Knockup goes down on the Heil saying, "What the Fox?" Finds Shachi, almost able to take him down. Ziz is going to be the one to pick that kill up. Now we see Heil saying he's caught out in the middle the entire time of SK Prime. Smitty's going to be the one to pick that kill up. They go back into the entire clump of Unicorns of Love, and everybody falls down. They only lose Smitty. They get the 5-man ace, and this is going to be SK Prime moving in to finish the game.
Yeah, they're going to try. They haven't actually got any minions, and they haven't really got any health, but there is only one Nexus Tower, so I expect they'll be able to take it. They've got potions running, and it'll be worth their lives, obviously, to go in and suicide. Yeah, lifesteal there from Ziz. He's going to get that tower. So, very well played by SK Prime in the end there. I just didn't like that engage, honestly, from Master Sheepy in the end there. Diving in, split their team apart, and essentially enabled them to get focused down one by one. Ryze got blown up, I think, by 2 people at the same time. And so, as a result, major targets, major damage sources being taken out. Not worth much in the team fight. So, good mobility usage by SK Prime. And, yeah, as you say, they take the game and the series.
It's worth pointing out, too, before we go to the break here really quickly, the evolution of the Casa win throughout this game. He got completely dumpstered in lane. I mean, just completely dumpstered in lane. 140 CS ended up separating the 2 mid laners at the end of the game, and it still didn't matter. He was still able to bring the mobility, bring the damage, and just chunk people down. This is the late game scaling potential of the Kassadin, no matter how the early game goes. Really impressive stuff there from What the Fox.
Yeah, right. So, obviously, guys, we are going to be going into a break now. I believe we are going to have to wait a bit of time until the next game is due. Games 2 are not going to be able to play until the next game was scheduled, and they're not going to be able to start early, being the specific point there.
Yeah, so it's going to be 7 o'clock Central European summertime, so roughly an hour from now. So go maybe play a little solo queue, maybe make a sandwich, have some lemonade. Is that a purely American phenomenon? Do you guys eat sandwiches and drink lemonade over on the EU side of things?
I mean, we do both of these things. I'm not sure we do them necessarily together. Is that the thing?
In the summertime, there's nothing better than a sandwich and a lemonade. Just gonna call that out right now.
People drink lemonade because it's, nice cold drink. I don't like lemonade myself, but people do that. I don't know why the sandwich comes into this. What type of sandwich? Is it just any type?
Any type of sandwich, doesn't matter. If you don't like lemonade, you and I are done. Professionally, personally, it's just over. Sorry to say that. I'll be sad to see you go. Spuddington is over.
Yeah,
as a
okay.
concept and a
Well,
person.
if you've ever liked my casting, feel free to follow my Twitter. Yeah, does look like that's going to be the end of our relationship, Malthus. I don't know how to cope. How can you forgive me?
Well, we have an hour. We're gonna go to some couples therapy. We'll work this out. We'll be back for the second best of 3 of the day. It's gonna be the it's gonna be the upper bracket finals between Gamers 2 and Ninjas in Pajamas. You won't want to miss it. We'll see you in an hour.